special interviews, highlights, and live broadcasts.
You're listening to 106.2 FM IDC International Radio, and I'm Itai Hanman here with a special interview to introduce a brand new ICT initiative in conjunction with Next-Gen 5.0, and that is the International Counter-Terrorism Review Journal that is started to come out January of 2020. They began to accept papers, and here with me in studio right now is Mr. Stevie Weinberg, the Deputy Executive Director of the ICT and the Editor-in-Chief of the ICTR, the International Counter-Terrorism Review. Mr. Stevie Weinberg, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me, Itai.
Excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us here. And maybe you can give us a little bit of background on how the idea for the ICTR came about.
Sure. So we were looking a little bit at what exists out there in literature and journal related to terrorism and counterterrorism. And we saw that unlike in other disciplines, there was a very big gap. And this is the creation of a student-led paper that is dealing at the highest level on topic ranging from terrorism, counterterrorism, insurgency, and so on and so forth. So the idea behind it is really to create a paper which is going to be managed by students, similar to what we have, for example, in law journals all over the world. And the idea there is really to help this young professional to find a place to publish, receive feedback and criticism when needed, and exchange also new research and policy recommendations that are coming from a new and fresh generation of young scholars and experts.
And we mentioned Next-Gen 5.0. They are a partner company in this project. How did that come about, and who are they?
Indeed. So the creation came out as a joint venture between the ICT, the Institute for Counterterrorism, and Next-Gen. On that, I also need to mention that the two managing editors for this very large task are Daphne Berry from the ICT and Nicolo Scremin from Next-Gen. Actually, I met Nicolo as first as a student and then as an intern at the ICT. He actually wrote his thesis on the contribution of Professor Ganor in the world of terrorism and counterterrorism. And Nicolo today is leading a platform of young experts interested in security and trying to make a change in not only in academia but also in the world of policy. So we couldn't think of a better match to do this endeavor together with him and with Next-Gen.
It seems like quite the endeavor indeed, and very large task, as you mentioned, for Nikolai and Daphne ahead of them here in the coming months to manage and edit this wonderful journal as it's coming out. But alongside them, we also have a very interesting advisory board mixed with many top experts in the field of counterterrorism and homeland security. Can you tell us a little bit about how they came about to being within the project and maybe some of the people that are on the advisory board?
So in order to have such publication, we needed a very strong advisory board that would also give us some legitimacy to these young people. So for that purpose, we try to combine an advisory board that will have some of today top experts, people like Colin Clark or Tricia Bacon, that are really, if you want, the up-and-coming scholar. They're already there, but still they are much younger. And to mix them with what we call, the old guard of terrorism and counterterrorism studies, those who are mentoring the hundreds and hundreds of students that are today studying terrorism. And here I'm speaking about Brian Jenkins from RAND Corporation, Bruce Hoffman from Georgetown, Marta Crenshaw from Stanford, someone like Ariel Merari from Tel Aviv University, or Alex Schmidt, one of the really leading academics dealing with terrorism and counterterrorism, and of course our very own Professor Boaz Ganor, who also serves there. But the idea was really to have a very nice mix of people coming from different disciplines and different views that will not only give us the legitimacy to be there, but also help us to find new ideas and think outside the box. And we are extremely grateful for their support and participation in this project.
It really does speak volumes to the personnel, but it speaks volumes specifically to the importance of this journal when you have such an advisory board of such high-level experts, both young and old, as mentioned, that have been in the field. With
I would say wise. Not
wise. As they continue to age, they get wiser, indeed. And something that we work on here specifically at the ICT, a motto we live with and work along, it takes a network to beat a network. Professor Ganor preaches that quite often. And it's something we see in a lot of the work that we do throughout the ICT, specifically looking at the ICT World Summit on Counterterrorism. It's all about building that network. And that model can be applied here as well as we look at the editorial board.
Correct. It would have been very easy for us to do a journal just within the IDC students, and I'm sure it would have been an excellent journal because we have excellent students there. But the idea was really to do an international reach there. And for that purpose, we created an editorial board that will be mixed between about 10 IDC students and 10 students that are coming from university all over the world. And really, we have people in the advisory board, in the editorial board, coming from Georgetown, Sciences Po in France, Columbia University, George Washington University, King's College, Syracuse, and of course, as I mentioned, IDC. The idea there is not only to have the current key leaders in terrorism and counterterrorism more in the advisory board, but with this editorial board to also create the leader of the future of the field of terrorism and counterterrorism. And I think that with the diversity of the board, their knowledge, I think that we're going to get there.
I think it's a very interesting initiative. It's going to be much bigger than anticipated. I have no doubt about it as we continue to get papers rolling into the ICTR website. And maybe you can just let some people know where they can go to find submission guidelines and anything they need to know about the ICTR.
So just look up ICTR, the International Counter-Terrorism Review. We are on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and on Facebook. Also on our website. You can also send us an email at ictr@ict.org.il. And we have there all the submission guidelines and all the key information you need to know if you want to be part of this exciting project.
And it is an exciting project. Mr. Stevie Weinberg, the editor-in-chief of the ICTR, as well as the deputy executive director of the ICT, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us and explaining a little bit about this wonderful initiative, the ICTR, the International Counter-Terrorism Review, a journal that is heading for publication with many, many very interesting articles and ideas, and we look forward to reading it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.